You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. The George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, folks, will not be ready for a vote by May 25th, the first anniversary of George Floyd's death. Congressman Karen Bass emphasized that the bipartisan group working on the police reform bill wants to get it right. They haven't come to terms yet. She suggested the legislation could still be voted upon in the coming weeks, and she's hopeful it will hold up in the Senate. Qualified immunity and a federal provision known as the color of law are two terms still being negotiated. The bill seeks to ban chokeholds and no-knock warrants and racial profiling at every level of law enforcement. You know, Reese, a lot of people keep... black folks been hitting me, man. How did they pass the anti-Asian hate bill? And they ain't moved on this. First of all, to everybody who... I see Greg shaking his head. First of all, most of y'all fools ain't read the damn bill.
Exactly.
You ain't read it.
Don't hurt him.
No.
You ain't read it. It is not a specific Asian bill. I mean, that's how dumb this is. And so a bill like the George Floyd Justice Act is already passed the House. It requires negotiation. What they're in. So these people are like, well, where's that? Well, where's the anti-lynching bill? And I've been challenging these fools. Well, how many of y'all even call your senator?
Ooh.
You're sitting their asses around here complaining, where's this? What have you done? That's the thing that kills me, Reese. I mean, and it's like, yo, this is why it takes negotiation.
Right.
I would rather them keep negotiating than have no bill at all. Make it happen.
Yeah, but also, I mean, here's the thing. Like you said, Roland, people don't even look at the details. I think and I said yesterday, there are plenty of examples of how black people get screwed, justice is delayed, it's hard fought, or is denied altogether. But this COVID anti-hate crime bill is not one of those. It literally creates a DOJ employee position, which, by the way, you don't even need legislation to do this. They could easily do this on an executive level. But I understand that Congress wants to get a win, and they put this legislation forward. And it creates issuing guidance. This is not some new class of protection that's specifically only for Asian Americans. The hate crimes has been legal since the Title I of the Civil Rights Act, which was for black people, by the way. And then in 2009, you have the Matthew Shepard and the James Byrd Jr. Hate Crime Act that was attached to the defense authorization. And so this isn't all of a sudden now we care about hate crimes. Where is the Afro-American hate crimes bill? What are you talking about? Did you miss the 1960s? Did you miss the Civil Rights Act? Why are y'all mad about shit that has been in place for decades when we have the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, which, by the way, when it was introduced, what went viral that day? Kente Cloth went viral. So we have to get serious about how bad we want these things to pass. It's not cool to only bring it up when you want to talk about, oh, well, this person is getting that. Oh, they had Biden is reversing transgender discrimination. Oh, they've signed the anti-Asian hate crimes bill. Where's our black ass bill? Well, where is the energy to pass it? Why did we not seize the momentum when people were out in the streets and we had a bill on the floor to pressure Mitch McConnell to get up Rand Paul's ass when he was filibustering the anti-lynching legislation that had passed 2 times previously under the leadership of then Senator Kamala Harris, Senator Booker, and even Tim Scott unanimously? And it had passed in the House, and Rand Paul was the one who filibustered it. So we have to get our shit together and quit looking at, well, they got this and they got that. When we get more, we focus so much more on getting cool points and scoring viral tweets and getting a clickbait and being the most woke motherfuckers on the internet. And then we wonder why our stuff is not getting passed. Right. So we have to get serious. We have to put the pressure on it. We should have done it 10 times more last year, but we were too busy arguing about this doesn't go far enough and this doesn't happen. And then a year later, everybody's complaining about the bill that they trashed and didn't get behind last year. So get serious and let's see what happens. But I already see people trashing qualified immunity. It might be out. qualified immunity is probably going to be out, but we're going to get the ban on chokeholds, which is what is addressing Eric Garner and actually addressing George Floyd. We're going to get the ban on no-knock warrants. We're going to get the registry, the national registry, which something like that would have prevented the person who killed Tamir Rice from being able to get his job. So there's a lot of victories in this bill if we get behind it and quit trying to tear down any kind of progress that we can make, so we can complain a year or 2 years later down the line if we don't have any progress. So
here's what is interesting, Greg. And this is from an NPR story, and this is for the people, again, who don't read. It says the bill aims to make the reporting of hate crimes more accessible at the local and state levels by boosting public outreach and ensuring reporting resources are available online in multiple languages. It also directs the Department of Justice to designate a point person to expedite the review of hate crimes related to COVID-19 and authorizes grants to state and local governments to conduct crime reduction programs to prevent and respond to hate crimes. Greg, that's not only Asians. It's hate crimes. That's everybody. So for all the people who keep acting like, ooh, the Asians got their bill, y'all, I told you, all these old fake-ass YouTube historians, Roland Martin, you did a video saying Congress can't pass a specific bill based upon race. Y'all, the attacks on Asians precipitated the bill. The bill ain't specific to Asians. It's not. If there's a hate crime that involves somebody black, this also impacts them. I don't understand why people, and again, this is what happens when you listen to these fake-ass YouTube historians who read nothing, and y'all fools get all excited and hyped about, well, so-and-so, she said this, and he said this. If black people are a victim of a hate crime, it can get reported under the... Greg, go ahead.
No, brother, you laid it out. You answered the question. We're not only not reading, we're in a society where literacy is not an asset. Everything is tied to your capacity to earn some money, to make some money. So, you know, the least amount of time you can spend reading, thinking, you know, those things are diminished in this society. So, I mean, so of course they wouldn't know. But yeah, having read, as I think we all have, the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, you know, it's a couple of things struck me. And then listening, of course, to Congresswoman Bass today, who said, you know, if this thing passed the way I wanted it exactly, after it passed, the next day I will be back in there moving forward. In other words, there are no silver bullets. And Reese, you made a very important point, sis. When you look at that's 3 or 4 years after the end of the Civil War, 1865, 6, 7, the Civil Rights Act of 1866, going back to Byron Allen, that's what he's using to go into court, I suspect, when I look. The legislation and policy is only as good as your capacity to enforce it. When you saw the deaths of Swerner, Goodman, and Cheney a century later in 1964 in Mississippi, the reason why United States versus Price reached the Supreme Court and they were able to uphold a federal conviction of those crackers who acted as a mob in there, who acted under the color of law, was because the example was so egregious that you could charge them and convict them on intent. The problem with the George Floyd Act is the problem in American law in the first place, which is when you're dealing with non-white life, the assumption is that there was no intent in terms of harming non-white people, particularly black people. There was no intent that was racial. All of that is about juries. All of that is about judges. It isn't about the letter of the law. In fact, arguably, you would need no new legislation. Malcolm X's birthday was yesterday. Remember when he said in 1963 that when black people took the thing in their own hands in Birmingham after the crackers came out there and started trying to beat up black people, Kennedy sent in the troops. Malcolm said there was no new law. There was only a decision by a policymaker to make these words mean something when white life was being threatened. Why am I saying that in the context of what we saw today with this COVID-19 Act? You're absolutely right, Roland. Money in that act is going to be used to create a national database. You know who doesn't want a national database? The 5 congressional Republicans out of Georgia who voted against it, including that nut Marjorie Taylor Greene. And in the United States Senate, one of the leaders of the January 6th insurrection, young Josh Hawley. out of Missouri, who was the only member of the United States Senate to vote against the legislation today. Do you know why? Because they understand that there is no silver bullet in one bill, in one piece of legislation, but every time you win an incremental victory, and if and when they take out qualified immunity, the George Floyd Act is a toothless act, but it's got one more tooth than it did the day before it signed, and then we keep going. Every time you push a little farther, you get closer to the resolution. This country is not going to exist in its current formation. What these white boys going to understand one day is that the only hope they have of not having to meet their maker in the streets of these very cities they think they're protecting is policy that will somehow, going back to what you said, Mustafa, a second ago, will somehow create some safety nets for all of us. Because if all of us don't get a safety net, ain't nobody gonna have a damn safety net. That's what history teaches us.
And y'all, again, it's the really stuck on stupid people. Like this dumbass who goes by Truth Seeker. He goes, the George Floyd Act is not a bill just for black folk either, Roland. So Asian crime bill is for everyone, but call the Asian crime bill. Yeah, okay, Roro. No, dumbass. Go to my computer. This is the name of the bill. The bill is called the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act. That's the name. It was introduced as a result of the hate crimes attacks on Asians during COVID.
That's right. So
no, dumbass, it's not the anti-Asian hate crimes bill. Just like the 1964 Civil Rights Act is not the black people bill. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.